Welcome to Pleasure of Poetry, a conversation between Gloucester co-poet laureates Jay Featherstone and Heidi Wakeman, focusing on the joy and pleasure of reading and writing poetry. Welcome to a special episode of Pleasure of Poetry. My name is Heidi Wakeman, and I serve as one of the co-poet laureates of Gloucester, Massachusetts. Today I'll be celebrating Salem poet Jen Martelli, who passed away on September 25th of 2025. February 18th was her birthday, and I had the pleasure of joining a celebration of her life and work online. And I was so moved by what I heard and what I remembered of Jen that I thought today would be a tribute to her and her work. January Gill O'Neill, a Salem poet and friend of Jen, wrote this in the Poetry Foundation Remembrances. The last thing Jennifer Martelli wrote was her own obituary. Anyone who knew Jen knew it couldn't have been written by anyone else. This line was the giveaway. She was also devoted to progressive causes and cannot believe that this thing in the White House has outlived her. What I remember of Jen was my time at the Gloucester Writers Center when she came in April 2024 and shared the table with fellow poet Carla Schwartz. Jen was warm, funny, so talented and welcoming to all of us listening in to her words, her wisdom, and her poetry. So this poem is from the collection The Queen of Queens, 16 Reasons I Became a Gray Pearl. 1. I grew tired of being a grain of irritation in the world's soft palette. 2. Thought I'd be a moon floating in a cloudy afternoon sky. 3. Being asexual, I craved bondage. 4. Craved 4 gold prongs to hold me in place on a band for the left ring finger. 5. Needed to backhand someone right on the mouth. 6. Felt silky, felt smooth. 7. Felt unsure, so I committed to pescatarianism. 8. Bounced like an idea and got lost. 9. Was pried from my hinged jewel casket with a flat shucking knife. 10. Wanted to be shucked. Wanted to be shucked so bad. 11. Wanted sisters. 12. Wanted to be drilled and strung on a gold chain. 13. Wanted to tink-tink against another bead. 14. Wanted to hang around a woman's neck. 15. Wanted to taste her sweat. 16. Wanted to be dropped in a glass of red wine vinegar to see if I was pure enough to dissolve. I wanted to dissolve. I love this poem. It opens a collection of work about life in the early 80s, Jen's life as a young woman, the political landscape of Geraldine Ferraro, the AIDS crisis, the lack of care by the government about the AIDS crisis, and her own adventures in familiar places, Boston, clubs. She was a little older than me, so we didn't share all of the same thing in the same way. But I recognize the red Varney, I recognize the Challenger explosion and the love of the ocean, and in this list poem, the love of lists. So I decided to write my own response to this poem for Jen. 16 Reasons I Became a Poet. 1. I grew tired of being a Cassandra, mute, mutilated. 2. Thought I'd be a star, shimmering in stanzas and syllables. 3. Being cerebral, I craved the sensual. 4. Craved an identity I already inhabited wholly. 5. Needed to tell my story of survival, the sublime. 6. Felt the muse's visit. 7. Felt the muse's departure. 8. Bounced between fecund and fallow. 9. Was pried from shyness onto the front page of Gloucester Times with trigger warnings. 10. Wanted to be read, to be a beacon for others in the dark. 11. Wanted a coven. 12. Wanted to be a prism, reflecting all the light and magic still inside me. 13. Wanted to crack open and shine the light of 1,000 suns. 14. Wanted to wade through rejections and win awards and wait for whatever winning means. 15. Wanted to sit in circles where past poets met, where the privilege of feedback is an offering, not a curse. Wanted to be on the page, on the stage, reading and leading with my words, to see if I was good enough to be there. I wanted to be there. So many poets read Jen's work that evening, and so many poets wrote remembering her as a fierce writer and a fierce advocate, a loving cat mom and family person. I look to poets like Jen as a beacon, as a light forward when things are dark, to help us get through. And when someone like Jen's light goes out, I'm so grateful there is a legacy of her work on the printed page. And the memory I have of just being in her presence at the Gloucester Writers Center at the Mass Poetry Festival. And now she's gone. When we read the work of somebody who's passed on, they continue. I believe that we all continue. And part of my love of being a poet and serving in this position is to have a legacy of language and love and light, at the risk of sounding corny, at the risk of sounding trivial or trite. I believe we go on and that Jen will go on. And so I'll close with another poem by her from the same collection called Succulent. I want to fill a bay window with 16 jade plants in terracotta pots, until they grow thick and knotted as snakes, tangling in the hair of a woman raped by a god and punished by a woman. I want to tease rubbery pearl beads of asterids into a rosary string, finger them, prey on them, try not to let the toxin seep onto my skin. I want to snap off a fat oozy leaf of the aloe I kept in the middle of my blue table, rub the silm on my scalded hands. I want to grow the round, black, and shiny phytolacca on a high shelf away from Maria, my long-haired cat, hide them from pregnant women who want to keep their babies from bleeding out. I always seem to want too much. I want my succulents to survive me. They can live for a long time, without water, without touch. Rest in power, Jen Martelli, and thank you so much for this extra special episode of The Pleasure of Poetry. Until the next time, keep finding pleasure in the people and poems and places that bring you light and love. And don't forget to tell them